What's up, everyone? You're tuned into Las Comadres on KROJ 101.5 FM. And today is Monday. You know, Mondays are sometimes a little bit rough, but sometimes they're not. How was your Monday, comadre?
My Monday was a little hectic just because I should have prepared my weekend a little bit better, but I was having such a good time that I left things to the last minute. But I got my homework done. I turned it in, and here I am.
Ooh, I didn't know you had homework.
I did. I'd had homework, but I did it, and I'm here, and I'm happy to talk about our topics today. There's a lot going on. Just
Are you talking
in general.
about homework for today?
Well, yeah.
Oh, me too.
No,
I was so confused as to what homework you were talking about. I was like, you had work that you had to take home because that's not normal.
This is my homework. I take this home.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Well, my Monday was lovely.
That's great. What did you do?
Well, before we go any further.
Oh yeah.
Because we have a special guest host, if you guys didn't see the Instagram post.
Hello, everyone.
I'm trying not to shriek. Don't do it. You're gonna.
What's up, y'all?
Alex Infinity.
Alex Infinity is here.
It is I, Alex Infinity.
We love Alex Infinity, friend of the show, friend of Voces Unidas. We are very, very lucky to have you here today.
Thank you. Y'all can just call me Alex.
Alex.
It just sounds so cool when you say Alex Infinity.
It does it?
It
cool.
does. Actually, it's like when you say Usher or like
that's awesome.
Madonna, like Alex Infinity. Like I can't not finish with the infinity.
That's cool.
It sounds so great.
The Alex Infinity is a must.
Because sometimes I'm like, does it have too many syllables?
No.
Okay,
it
cool.
It just rolls
it
off the
flows.
tongue.
Thank you.
It flows. Well, you know. Okay, I'll tell you how my weekend, how my Monday was. Actually, we're talking about Mondays.
Just a Monday.
Don't twist my shoulder, y'all. Is it twist my shoulder or twist my elbow?
Twist my arm.
Know.
Don't twist my arm. None.
Elbow,
the whole thing.
Shoulder.
The whole thing. Okay. Well, today was nice. I went to Mike's Cafe for breakfast.
What
you
have?
Been there?
I have, but I'm a little hurt that you were down the street from me, and you're.
You know what? You know what?
You know, I don't know if this comadre thing is working out.
Ooh, I could.
Well,
could
you know
do
what?
Comadre Maria.
No. This is okay. Because this cancels out what I did to her at trivia night.
Oh, what happened at trivia night?
Oh my God. Well, we did trivia night with our friend Gus. We went to Bodevie. It was really
shout
fun.
out Gus.
And shout out Bodevie for holding a really awesome game night, a trivia night. And we were there. Diosy had to step out for a second for a phone call. And in the time that she was gone, we went through a whole like round, and it was just me and Gus. And I can't remember if Daniel ended up helping. I don't know, but like no. Daniel was not there. But yeah, we ended up scoring I think so many points when she was gone, and I was like, okay, for the next round, could you leave too so we can get like another like awesome like round of points? But that was hurtful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so
you went to Mike's Cafe without Maria.
So I went to
payback.
Mike's Cafe without my comadre. I went with my boyfriend on a little breakfast date.
That's so cute.
But it was nice.
How's the food at Mike's?
You know, I really enjoyed the pancakes. I got the chocolate monster, whatever. Like,
Ooh.
but the thing with me is that I can't have everything like on top of the pancake.
Oh, you need everything separated.
Yeah, and I love them because they have these little cute like metal containers.
Oh, that's nice.
And they put everything on the side, and yes, Tere, I get to build my own comadre.
It's like when you go to
it's such a fun project.
When you go to Denny's and you build your own like
Your Grand Slam.
Your Grand Slam.
Yeah,
Aww.
but yeah, the pancakes were pretty good. I like the pancakes. And then I think I had fries with, it was like a bowl, but like it was like asada fries, but breakfast. Like it had like a sunny side up egg. Granted I didn't eat the sunny side up egg. I just had the asada fries. So
That is not. I'm one of those people that likes
Like
leftovers
lunch
for breakfast. I am not. I'll eat eggs. I like a fried egg, but if I had a choice between like last night's spaghetti and like eggs and ham and bread, I will take the last night's spaghetti.
Yeah.
No, I'm such a breakfast girly. Like, I love me, like, some over medium eggs and some toast. And I love to do, like, over medium eggs, toast. And I like onions, tomatoes, and cucumbers, and avocado. Like, that's, like, my perfect everyday breakfast. But
what about you, Alex? What is your breakfast food for
You
the
know,
day? What gets you going?
I've kind of thought about this a lot because I do love like a good hearty breakfast, eggs, pancakes, whatever. But I'm kind of like, I feel like ideally it should really just be like a little smoothie. You know what I mean? Something to give you energy to start your day.
Just a light breakfast type of person.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes you get all excited, you get the grand slam, then you eat all, then you're like, damn, I just want to go to sleep.
It's true.
That is
So-
true. That is true. Well, breakfast was great. After breakfast, I took my dog to the groomer right down the street from your house too.
Wow.
so
Just throwing shooting shots.
Mike's is across the street, and the groomers is on my street. So
She probably had to pass your house.
she could see my house from the corner.
Honestly, I
look-
did.
You could
look
just yell.
far enough.
Honestly, I did pass your house.
Oh my god!
Dang, walked right by.
All right, Alex. I think you and I are gonna get to know each other a lot better.
I'm here. I'm with it. I'm here.
But
No, but
The
it's
third
because
comadre.
It's because, look, comadres, it's because I spent my weekend with
I know.
with Comadre Tere and Compa Mike, and it was just like I couldn't bring myself. I couldn't bring myself to kind of like. Can you guys hear me? Am I cutting off?
You're
no,
good,
we
you're
can
good.
hear you.
Oh, my sound is cutting off.
No, go on.
But-
go on.
I couldn't bring myself to like be like, hey, comadre, do you want to hang out again?
No, because we were gonna see each other later on.
And,
Yeah.
and then we have the show
Too much.
tonight.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me give her a little bit of a break. Let her
A
relax.
little healthy space, huh?
But yesterday
yes.
was nice though because we got together for Teodora, which is our other Voces Unidas and Pacoima co-founder. They were being honored as part of a mural at the West Valley YMCA. So we went over, and there was supposed to be a community painting day. So if you went in and you can kind of paint a little bit of the mural. But Teodora's is amazingly is the biggest one.
They painted. It's her. Like they painted
It's
her
her.
on the wall.
Her silhouette.
Oh, that's so. I
And
was like
it's-
confused. I was like, is that what they're painting her? So that's
The
cool.
silhouette, and it's really cute because if you look at it, you can't see it from far away, but if you look at it really close, they have her. They even painted her beautiful long eyelashes into the silhouette. It's such a beautiful detail.
That's
it was
so
really
cool.
awesome, and I'm not sure when it's gonna be completed and unveiled, but that is going to be happening sometime soon. So we were there yesterday.
So you were painting it too? You were.
We all contributed a little bit.
Okay.
Diosy's kiddos were there. Our friend Ana Amalia was there. Teodora, I think Gus and our friend Adrian showed up. So it was really lovely to just kind of be in community in the West Valley because we don't typically go out there.
Yeah,
That's funny. I was
it's
there
not
yesterday
often
too.
that we're out there together.
Yeah, and I don't go very much either. I was just there. Dang, I'm just kind of living my dream. Like, that's like one of my dreams is to have a mural painted of me one day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We should make it happen.
We'll make that happen.
Nah, I need to like reach a certain point first, you know?
Yeah.
Bueno,
absolutely.
Pues.
Goals.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a long
5-year
goal.
plan.
Maybe 5 to 10.
All right, 10.
5 to 10?
Yeah.
What's your favorite mural on Mural Mile? Do you guys have one?
Oh no. I don't know if I do.
My favorite mural is not actually in Pacoima. My favorite mural is in now it's Valley Glen, but it's North Hollywood, and that's the Great Wall. It's a huge mural. I believe the artist's name is Judith Baca, and she painted it like so many years, and it's actually in front of Grant High School, which is the high school I went to.
Okay, I was like, I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like the biggest mural or something, no? Like the longest mural?
The longest mural.
Like a mile or something?
Yeah, I think it's a whole mile.
Yeah.
And just
in the wash, right?
Yep, right over. And there's revitalization efforts. They're gonna be like making it, enhancing it, making it pretty. If you walk through there, if you drive through there, you can see there's like posts, and there's like little actually binoculars you can look through. Like not everything's been open, but they're getting to that point. So that's my favorite mural because it also tells the story of like the Southwest, from prehistoric times to and I think it's like the 80s or 90s where it was painted. So that's my favorite mural. I really, really enjoy that one.
That's
I remember that one. I also went to Grant High School for my senior year.
What?
I graduated from there. So we both went to Grant. Little invisible string theory. Yeah, but I remember that mural. I think for me, my favorite mural would have to be... I really like the one of... I think it's JP's mom. The one of the señora on... Like right there by your house too. The one across the street from... There's one of it, like an older lady. And I think that's like his mom or something like that. She's like lives in the community and all of that. Super cute. I really like that one. It's like... Because it's nice that it's like somebody that is in the community. It's somebody's mom. It's somebody like, you know, it's just like, it's a good representation of us. Yeah. So that's my favorite one. Do you have a favorite one?
I don't know if I do. Maybe like, the one, it's not a mural mile either, but probably the one behind where the old Tia Chucha's space was. It's not even like, I wouldn't even say it's like my favorite mural necessarily, but just whenever I pass it, I'm like, reminded of old times. I'm like, dang, the place doesn't exist there anymore, you know. But the mural's still there, and it's like, wow, and it was painted for that. So yeah,
Lovely.
Yeah, murals are such like nostalgic things, you know, like the one on Arlita and Van Nuys that just got restored. That one, it's so nostalgic to me. Like
it's the Virgen?
The Virgencita one. Like I've passed by that one so many times, and you know, it's just always been there, and now it's a little bit different but the same, and it's just like, whoa. And then like, have you guys seen the metro, the new metro, how they printed out pictures of like what it's gonna look like in the future, and that's one of the streets that they used. And so the mural's right there, like in the future, but like, you know, with like the new like
with the new thing in front of it.
What do you think about that? Is this controversial? What do you think about the metro coming in?
Oh my God, we have a lot of feelings about it. Maria's actually on the, what is it?
It's the Community Leadership Council.
You're right there. Huh?
Yeah, so it's me and I think it's like 12 or 13 or 14 other stakeholders in the community, people that work, live, practice their faith, or volunteer, or do any kind of business in this area. And that's meant to give some kind of citizen oversight. You know, people can ask questions. They are sort of like liaisons to these meetings that happen. Now, obviously, everybody is welcome to the meetings, and it's encouraged that people come in because a lot of things have come up during these meetings. Like initially, parking was never really thought about. What about parking for the businesses and the people that live in the area? So subsequently, they started looking into that. They were like expanded into a parking study so that people in the area know exactly what to expect, because that wasn't, I guess, part of the plan.
They didn't think about parking? That's crazy.
You would think.
It's not even like a wide street, at least not that part of it.
And it's interesting to learn how the processes actually work, where it's a metro project, but they're not in charge of certain things that are having to do with the projects, because they're LADWP existing projects that are going to be happening anyway, but they just happen to coincide, but it's still sort of overlapping, and people had questions. What's going on? Yeah, so, and people in the audience, which rightfully so, were asking a lot of questions, like, how is it that you're saying that LADWP is responsible, but this is just in direct, you know, and in conjunction to what you're doing for the metro. So it's really interesting to see how the builders and the people doing the project answer these questions. Then there was another question about undergrounding utilities. And apparently that is not something that is within the scope of the project. And people are upset because you're changing infrastructure, but you're not really changing infrastructure because it's limited, because the power lines belong to DWP, and that's a whole nother thing. So
wow.
it's a really complicated project.
There's work being done, and like kind of like the city's taking advantage of certain work that's happening, and then like so now it's creating more closures that are outside of the scope of work of you know,
right.
And so like people are just like, what the heck, like, why aren't you guys notifying us of this or what? And they're like, no, you're supposed to get notified from
this other agency.
And then they're like, so it's just so complicated. There's so many agencies involved, and like it's really like the last meeting we went to, we were there about 30 to 45 minutes after.
It was about 40 minutes.
Yeah,
after.
30 to 40 minutes after it was intended to end.
Yeah.
They were literally like telling us, oh, you know, they're going to close the building on us. Like, we have to get out. So, like, we had to get out. But the thing is, like, if you pay attention, like, who's going to these meetings, it's a lot of the same agencies, like, attending, obviously, like, the people that work there. But it's also a lot of the same community members, the same stakeholders that are following this. And the thing is that, like, I would like to see like more community there, you know, like more like stakeholders, like residents, you know, students. This is gonna impact a lot of our lives, you know. And like the thing is that yes, a lot of the work is being done at night.
There's like things to help
during the day. There's a lot.
It's gonna happen now.
I'm always driving up and down Van Nuys. Always.
But that's the thing. Like those things that are happening right now on Van Nuys are not like
directly
related to.
Oh, what?
So there's like the groundbreaking just happened last Saturday or last Sunday for Metro. They just broke ground here in Pacoima. But there has been other work being done.
Yeah, that's the work that I was talking about. That people were like, well, what's going on with this part of the project? And they're like, whoa, that's not us. That's the LADWP.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, you gotta call them. So there's a lot of this sort of back and forth. But to the OC's point, it's really important to have community show up and keep asking these questions. Even if they're repetitive questions, there is a question that keeps being brought up every single meeting, and that is the undergrounding of utilities.
Yeah.
So that is what it's going to end up affecting the change. Even though they keep saying, we're not doing this isn't within the scope of things, they're still asking, and they're putting pressure, and they're saying, okay, well, if you say that it's so-and-so, bring that up representative so we can talk to them, or who do we contact? So it's really important. I know people get frustrated and things get busy, but we have to be consistent with asking these questions and showing up. And if maybe I can't show up, maybe she can show up, or maybe you can show up, and then you can continue to be that voice.
Yeah, and like always with the intention, of course, of sharing with community and all of that. But yeah, that picture I saw, that picture got me back to
full circle back.
Okay, let's come back from the side quest.
But no, yeah, like it was pretty crazy to see that picture with that mural and have that perspective of like, wow, like Mural Mile is so impactful that like thinking about the future and what it's gonna look like, you know, like that was definitely like a thought of that crossed my mind, like, wow, like this is like in the future already.
Yeah. Oh, and I made sure to ask because we're brought in, I think, quarterly. There's still meetings happening regularly, but for the CLC members, we're brought in quarterly. So when we were brought in just this last time, they were talking about the art. And I wanted to know, what efforts are we going to be doing to reach out to local artists in the area, because this area is so rich in history with murals
already. And so like we want to make sure that like continues within like whatever comes into the community, right? And so like that's like part of the advocacy. And there is opportunities to be involved with that part of the construction. And, you know, so if anybody is interested and would like to know, we are on Instagram on at Las Comadres _VU. And you could also contact us on Instagram as well at Voces Unidas in Pacoima. And both Tere and I have access to both accounts, so you'll be probably talking to either one of us. But I just want to remind everyone, you guys are tuned into Las Comadres on KROJ 101.5 FM. This is a segment of Voces Unidas. We are produced by Voces Unidas in Pacoima and Valley Views SFB Media. And your hosts for today is Comadre Diosy,
Comadre Maria,
Comadre Alex.
Hey, and so we are going to take a quick little musical break. And we'll be right back.
What's up, everyone? It's Alex Infinity. I'm doing a live segment just right now. Not really a segment, a shout out. I actually made a 2-hour-long locals-only playlist, specifically for Las Comadres and Voces Unidas, the best radio show in the San Fernando Valley. Right now, you're hearing my song, Dueña, which came out 3 years ago, but we still rocking it. Stay tuned when you come back. Keep talking about Valley stuff, our stuff, things you want to hear. So stay tuned, stick around, enjoy the music. Love y'all. Talk soon.
You are listening to Las Comadres here on KROJ 101.5 FM. And before we get started and to our next topic, we wanted to just play a little clip that's going to give a little bit of background into what we're going to be discussing next. So if we can play that clip.
Hey guys, so that was a bit of a clip from ABC 7 News. And that clip you can find basically all over social media. I've seen it on TikTok, Instagram, you name it. Yeah. But
if you Google Moreno Valley, and we'll be linking our show notes after the show, so all of the things that we're going to be discussing are going to be linked for reference and to encourage people to look into this and sort of form their own opinions, because these are just, you know, conversational topics.
Yeah, and so, you know, what are initial thoughts? You know, Comadre Maria sent me this over when it happened, actually, when like the news broke out, I think over like last week.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of like having a conversation about it. I have a lot of mixed feelings just because like I have kids in school right now, and like I was putting myself in that position, but I would like to hear like your guys' like initial reactions before I say my parental reaction.
Well, I think because this is an AP history class. And it was emotional, and it conveyed a lot of fears that this AP history teacher has. This is not to defend his actions, because there is a place and a time. But it was based on a lot of fears that he, as a teacher, has seen happen throughout history. Like, this is what he went to school for, to study history and to teach history to students. And but the teacher was subsequently placed on administrative leave, and like Diosy said, you can find this all over the internet, and the reactions were mixed. There were some students, as you heard, that were supporting his actions, but most of the parents were outraged. And the following week, there was a school board meeting, and the New York Post covered this, and I wanted to just read a little bit some of the quotes that the parents that went to the school board. These are actual parents that went, and one of them says, quote, "It is time that the school district stop tolerating hate speech in class. There should be zero tolerance for hate speech," one mother argued. "To say that a Hispanic man wants to be white, I'm offended. Yo soy mexicana. I am chicana. I am indigenous, and my family voted for Trump. The teacher should be fired. You are put on notice." A parent said, "What Mr. Perez did is make the most racist comments to tell them that their fathers, that if they voted for Trump, that they only did it because they wished they were white. That is the worst of it all. Shame on him." And the last one says, he said things that should have never been said. He used profane language. He has a right to say those things, but not at our schools. That is crossing the line, and it needs to be some major consequences. Now, I do agree that there are a place and a time for everything. But I think it's really interesting that the parents are now up in arms about a teacher misguidedly expressing himself. But when there's a student that is being bullied, when there is a trans kid that's being targeted, when there's being somebody, just recently in the news, I tried to look up for articles about this, that there was a homeless student that could not take the abuse and decided to not be here anymore. And his father was very heartbroken because he had witnessed the bullying that had happened. So when there's somebody that says he used profane language, half the songs on the radio are profane. I'm thinking, like, kids are listening to this. This is really, like, explicit. Violence is everywhere. So it's really interesting that, like, all of a sudden now they have somebody to target. Now it's this teacher's fault, and he was inappropriate. Not forgetting that this is like the young girl said in the clip, this is a college level class. So this is a conversation that I probably would have had in college, probably not in high school, but I think given the situation, the emotions were there, and they're not excused. I don't think that that it was right for him to really lay it on all the kids like this, but it's a harsh reality of life, and I think it's really unfair that the parents are selectively choosing things to focus on instead of really being fair and looking at it from a different perspective. But what do you think, Alex?
Maybe this is like a bit of a hot take, and I hear it. I hear that, like, perhaps the delivery was definitely impassioned and, like, it could tell there was a lot of emotion there, but I'm like, this is a scary time, you know? I feel like you said, this is a AP World History class, so I'm assuming they're like 10th graders. That's when I took it. And this is historic. This is part of history, and, like, he was, you know, tying in, like, this is where history perhaps repeating itself. And the kids themselves, at least some of them, I mean, you know, that's not the whole story, but some of them were like, yeah, like, I think they're entitled to speak this way. I'm sure, like, there is some sort of, it's still early in the semester, but I'm sure there's some sort of, like, rapport there with the teacher and the students. And I always think about, too, like, there are kids their age and younger who are going to actually in real life be affected by this, you know, like he was saying, like, there's kids who are younger than them, you know, that are you know, now, like, actually threatened and, like, in danger and fearing for them lives. And it's like, so what, you just, like, they have to deal with it. They can't just be like, oh, I'm too young, I shouldn't hear about this. Like, they're dealing with it in real life.
It's a harsh reality.
Yeah,
it's a harsh reality. And I think if this had taken place in, like, maybe a middle school,
yeah, that's
absolutely
you know?
Not appropriate. Elementary school, absolutely not. But I think when you start to get into that high school age, you start to look at the world differently, and you start to form your own views. And I think it was an opportunity for the students to form opinions of themselves, right? Like, do you agree with what Mr. Perez said? Mm-hmm. I don't agree. Okay, great. But tell me why, and let's have a discussion about it.
I think you hit an important point, too, about, like, the selective outrage from the parents. Like, because there are these other issues, you know, that are plaguing students and young people and whatever. And it's like, but this is the thing you choose to be mad about. And I kind of hear it, you know what I mean? Like, I think perhaps the delivery and, like, some of the things, but I don't know. It's also like,
it's like a selective, because not all kids experience bullying. Not all kids are experiencing, you know, being neurodivergent in a school or being queer in a school. These are, like, pockets of communities and within schools that are, like, feeling, you know, the way that we're feeling. And I think that's kind of where my reaction is like, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings, just because as my kids are growing up, they're growing up learning about their peers, and they're very like emotional beings. They're very emotional kids, and so they connect with their friends on a very personal level. They're not superficial relationships at all. Like they have best friends at school, that their friendships go outside of school. And so and of course, like that has a lot to do with the parents, right? Like myself and these other kids parents, we make sure that the kids have those relationships. But because of that, our kids are able to see how like we live, how their friends live, how we live, the similarities, the differences. And so with that being said, we have a lot of friends that have undocumented parents. You know, we have a lot of friends who have parents that work in factories. We have a lot of friends that are also neurodivergent. And so my kids are already experiencing fear mongering in the schools. You know, students coming to school with misinformation, and talking to my kids. And, you know, my kids have already experienced being separated from a parent. My kid's dad is in Mexico. He can't come back, right? And so my kids haven't seen their dad. My son, the last time he saw his dad, he was 4, and he's 9. So their relationship is virtual. There's so many things that are already impacting their lives, that because of that, they've kept their own eye out on these elections, that I wasn't super aware of until really like leading up to like November, wherein I was like hearing them talking about this stuff when they would get picked up from school, or just amongst themselves together. Like they would talk about like Trump, and I'd be like, how do you know about Trump? Or what do you know about Trump? And so yeah, it's definitely a cause of concern to hear the rage. I think the only thing I have a problem with is like, I would have appreciated the message to come to the students in a more like gentle way. Not even gentle, because there's no really gentle way to say this, but like I wish that the teacher would have like maybe checked themselves a little bit, you know, their emotion. And but like that's really hard to ask of like a human being having a very normal human reaction, and a very, like you said, Alex, in a very scary, difficult time. And so like I don't know, you know, like I think that as a parent, I wouldn't have had an issue with it. Like, if my child came and told me, I think I would have had a discussion with my child, right? And like ask my child, what do they think? And I think this was an opportunity for parents to like do that, have that open discussion with their children. But I think there's just parents that are just so upset because, again, the comments that we're hearing are very much like, I'm a Chicana that, quote, like, I'm a Chicana that voted for Trump. You know, like, how dare they say that?
I want to circle back to that actually.
You know, and I tried to look to see who it was that said that, because
the worst
I wanted to
ever.
see, and I couldn't find the name of the person. They didn't give the name of the person, but this is in the New York Post article. Like, this made it all the way to New York Post.
But that's what
they wrote about it.
That's what's scary, you know. I want to remind everybody that you're tuned into Las Comadres on KROJ 101.5 FM. This show is a segment of Voces Unidas. We are produced by Voces Unidas in Pacoima and Valley Views SFE Media. Shout out to Valley Views. Shout out to Pueblo y Salud. We are coming to you guys live from the city of San Fernando. Our hosts are Pueblo y Salud. And so I just want to say a quick couple shout outs to people on the chat. What's up, Gus? What's up, Downbeat Studios?
What's up, y'all?
Hey, Gus.
Yeah, just, you know, I think that coming back to the conversation, yeah, like that we're hearing comments from folks that have these types of opinions. And so, like, I think that, like, as a teacher, you cannot this is where I think it's like, I feel like the teacher, like, as a parent, I'm looking at the teacher like, what did you expect? Like, the backlash, right?
But you don't think teachers are talking about this in other schools? Because, like, how do you not talk about this?
But the thing is, like, we have cell phones in schools now. It's like, when I was going to school, we still had cell phones. I had cell phones. But, like, we had, like, World Star. We had Vine. We had, people would go viral, on those, like, teachers. I remember there was this one student who went off on his teacher. It was, like, this white boy with really long hair who was schooling his teacher. And he was like, you don't even teach your students. Like, you don't. And that kid, he spit some truth, And I was like, damn, I remember being a kid and watching that kid and being like, yeah, But it's like social media and, like, kids and, like the world is so different. And really, like, we do have all these little kids, these young adults, let's be real, that are heavily influenced by their parents, by, like, politically influenced right now, especially right now. It's like, I remember, like, the first time I went through, like, being, like, politically aware of things, like, it was, like, I think the Obama era, where everybody was telling me, like, you like Obama, right? And, like, you like this, right? And, like, you go for that, right? And, like, I didn't know anything. Like, I was a kid. But I was like, yes, because that's what the majority of my community was doing. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I started getting more, like, aware and involved, that I was like, oh, okay, now I understand, like, what that yes meant. But these kids that recorded this teacher having this rant and showed their parents, and like, honestly, it was probably just a student who was like, my parents are gonna get a kick out of this, because I don't think anybody really would want to, like, fire their teacher or, like, I don't think he was a bad teacher.
Kids are being radicalized right now too on the internet, not just their parents, but on the internet. Kids are being radicalized in the wrong way.
The way the students stood up for this teacher as well. Like this teacher had a good relationship with his students. That's the other part. Like, that
is important.
He had a really good relationship.
He had
with
a lapse
students.
in judgment. He had an emotional moment, and these parents are pretending like their children are babies. These are young adults. Let's be real. They're about to enter the real world. They're about to hit 18. AP history, you take when you're 16, 17 years old, just about to go into college, and if I don't know, like, if this is the kind of conversation that you're shielding your child from and going to the school board and say that they need to be fired, like, how are you preparing your child to be able to engage in discourse?
I understand regulation, but, like, to fire someone, and again, like, for having a very, like, human, real response. Yeah. Like,
I wonder, too, because I've heard stories on the flip side of, like, these radical, like, Republican teachers or whatever spewing, like, the opposite, where it's like either, like, that's another thing too, this person saying, like, to quote or to go back to the quotes of these people, these parents, like, that this is hate speech. And I mean maybe there was some there's some stuff lacking from the entire quote, but I'm like, is that hate speech? I don't know if that's hate speech. I think hate speech is a little different.
That was mentioned a few times in some of the articles, not just this one. And I'm only referring to this one because this one had the quotes that I wanted to talk about. But it does mention a lot of parents saying that they felt like this was hate speech. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just radicalized and can't recognize hate speech. But, like, he said some maybe not so nice things. He said some really harsh truths, which I don't really think he lied in any kind of way, like slandering the president in any kind of way.
Yeah, I think going back to one thing that one of the parents quoted about saying that, like, oh, something about if your parent voted, if you're Latinx person, your parent voted for Trump, they want to be white.
Yeah.
I think there is truth in that, but I think there's also a lot more to that perhaps maybe could have gone more into. I think it's even deeper than that. And also going back to that whole, I wanted to touch on that, the parent being like, oh, I'm a Chicanx person, my family are this, and, like,
yeah, she said I am indigenous and my family voted for Trump.
I've heard that narrative over the past few weeks about, like, people who are Latinx being like, oh, like y'all don't even actually know I actually lived in Mexico. Now y'all third generation, second generation, you don't even know Trump is actually the one. And it's like, who made you? You're not the spokesperson. You're not the token. You know what I mean? Like, your opinion is not like isn't just
you don't speak for everybody.
Yeah, you don't speak for everyone, and they'll I don't know. And I think that's in like a segment of that, or excuse me, what do you call
like
it?
Like a just like
an
a part
example.
of that. Yeah,
you know,
like
like because like that's a weird thing to like make it seem like, oh yeah, we voted for him, so like there's nothing wrong with it. Like that's you're not.
But that's the
person.
thing. Like they really feel that way though.
Yeah.
Like people really feel that way. Like and that's kind of where this is all coming from. Like this is where like this is where I'm coming from. Where I'm like, what did you expect? Mm-hmm. Where I'm like, you have a public job. You work for like a public school, and so you know that there's both sides there, and like for me, I just simply wouldn't put my job on the line like that. Simply, just to put it simple, like these kids with these phones and like, you know, it's just I would probably give an assignment, you know, make the kids reflect. And but like that's what I'm saying, like I wish it would have been in a more digestible way, where maybe this teacher could have like gotten an idea of where his students were with this election, and like started from there. And again, that's a big ask, because it's like ideally in a perfect world, like they would have the capacity to do that, right? But again, I'm coming from like this is a very real experience, like real human experience. But again, like I just want to remind everyone that you guys are again tuned into Voces to Las Comadres. We're gonna go ahead and take a musical break in just a second. But your hosts today are Comadre Diosy,
Comadre Maria,
Comadre Alex Infinity,
and we'll be right back, y'all. Hey everyone, so we're back with Las Comadres on KROJ 101.5 FM. I'm Comadre Diosy,
Comadre Maria,
Comadre Alex,
and we're here live from Pueblo y Salud in the city of San Fernando in the KROJ studios. Really grateful to Valley Views, really grateful to Pueblo y Salud for having us here. But we were just like having a conversation talking about this very controversial topic that we've been seeing kind of online, manifest on the news and online, and you know, had some very serious consequences for the teacher. But Alex, I know that we kind of cut off on a quick little note there, but what are your thoughts?
Wow, where to begin? I think I want to take a call back to last Monday's episode of Voces Unidas, where I called in. I had some stuff to say, and one of the points that I was trying to make was that, for those who didn't listen, was that this is a different election. You know, this is different than previous election cycles where, you know, if you were on the fence or you were maybe Republican, like, and you know, you had this narrative of, oh, like, just because I voted one way, like, doesn't mean we can't be friends, or doesn't speak to me. Back then, I feel like I could hear it. That makes sense. But in this time around, Trump is someone who pretty much their whole campaign was based in these ideas of white supremacy, xenophobia, racism, transphobia, homophobia, misogyny. And so for all of, not just one or the other, but all of those things to not be a deal breaker or to not be like a concern for people, I think is very alarming and very indicative of like certain I'll say like subcultures that are happening right now, I think online and then in the real world. And so I think this isn't the type of election where it's like in the past where, you know, you'd say like, oh, you never say who you vote for, like. Yeah, back then it makes sense. Now it feels like, no, this really does say a lot, I think, because this is really like this is a change in human history, or in like at least American history, whatever, and for the world arguably. And And so in regards to the teacher, kind of going off on the students, I think, again, I do still think there could have been perhaps a more composed way of going about it, but I don't know. I hear it. I think it's like he mentioned in one of the things that like Donald Trump has been has quoted Hitler, like has quoted Nazi Germany, and like I see these people with the "Make America Great Again" hands, and I'm like, that's like watching someone walk around with a swastika, and I'm like, like it's like I've heard this thing too about people saying like, oh, how I don't know how they let this genocide happen in the past, and then you have with Palestine right now genocide taking place, and then here it's like, I don't know how these historic things we let that happen. It's like it's happening. It's literally happening in front of our eyes, and like we're getting mad because teachers are calling it out or people are calling it out. And so I don't know. I feel like this feels like it is appropriate to. I think in human history, like in the grander scheme, like it is maybe called for to get upset and to be vocal
I
and
think as a I think how do I want to say this? I think that it's very clear that to us, at least to our generation, that like history is repeating itself. And I think it's like not everybody sees that, and like it does take an educated person. It does take somebody that knows. It does take somebody that cares, because a lot of these parents that are saying like, well, I voted for Trump, they voted for Trump for like reasons that I don't even know. We don't even know. We don't even know, because it's like we saw it last election, right? Where family members who voted for Trump, their family members got deported that next year. Parents were split up. Families were split up. Mothers and children, spouses. They were split up. And so what are we expecting this time to happen? And like those are the same people that, again, voted again, thinking like, no, it's not going to happen to us. It's not going to happen to us. We saw a lot of families go through that last time. And like that's kind of like a perfect segue.
Yeah, no, it's really important to remember history and for us to remember what to avoid and not do, as what we're doing now. But I think with speaking of deportation, the first thing I wanted to do was do a land acknowledgement, because we're going to be talking about this territory. So we recognize that we occupied land originally and still inhabited and cared for by Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to the elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. I think it's important to really remember how part of this country became the United States. Like how it actually happened especially with the Southwest. A lot of people forget that the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo actually made part of Mexico, they seceded part of Mexico to the United States. And this was signed in 1848. It seceded 55% of Mexican territory. So 55% of Mexico was given away to the United States as part of the treaty that was ending the Mexican-American War in 1846. And those present-day states include California, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, most of Arizona, Colorado, parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Wyoming. So it's even like into the Midwest. Mexico was relinquished all claims to Texas and recognized the Rio Grande as the southern boundary with the United States. And if you look online, you can actually see the documents. You can actually see the treaties online. And it's really interesting because it's all like handwritten and it's like in parchment paper. It's really cool to look at. But there were 4 parts of the agreement. One was cessation. The other was a border of Texas. Mexico got paid for some of these, for this land. And Mexican citizens had the option of becoming U.S. citizens. So back then, the only thing that was separating Mexico from the United States was the Rio Grande. And there were no walls or fences. That came later. And during this time, during the time after the treaty was signed, people were still traveling across the land they had known to be theirs for generations. So people were just walking through, living as they had been living for generations. And it wasn't until the 1910s, when there was a great need for agricultural labor, that many Mexican citizens decided to immigrate or stay in the United States for jobs. But when the Great Depression came, that need was no longer there. And the years between 1929 and 1936 were marked by economic and political crises, very similar to what's going on right now. Mm-hmm. Border Patrol launched several campaigns to detain Mexicans, including some U.S.-born citizens, and expel them across the border. This was known as the Mexican Repatriation Program. Mm-hmm. And I found a website from the Indiana Historical Society, and they were even writing about this, that at the start of the Great Depression, the President Herbert Hoover addressed a joint session of Congress regarding the rapidly declining economy on December 2nd, 1930. One of the solutions was to further reduce visa availability to new immigrants and to more fully rid ourselves of criminal aliens, especially those in violation of immigration law. But the U.S. still needed labor.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So here enters the Bracero program that ran from 1942 to 1964. And this was a short-term contract meant for unmarried men without families so they could legally work in the United States agriculture and war industries. Remember, the U.S. entered World War II in 1941. So they still needed immigrant labor. They still needed it. The economy depended on it. But then the U.S. said, wait, there's too many of you now. So we're going to enter Operation Wetback from 1953 to 1954. And again, that was when national concerns regarding returning soldiers and uncontrolled migration across the southern border inspired the Immigration Bureau to crack down on Mexican immigrants in the United States. Even as the Bracero program continued to recruit temporary Mexican workers, the Immigration Bureau and Border Patrol led military-style roundups, claiming to have deported 1 million Mexicans. Amongst those deported included many U.S. citizens of Mexican descent. So, was Mr. Perez really wrong for his impassioned, albeit misguided, attempt at connecting the past to the present for his AP history students?
Well,
there's history.
There is history, and again, if it would have been, see, this is where for me, again, as a parent, mm-hmm. if it would have been brought up in the way that we just
discussed it right now,
this is a very I can follow what you're saying, and it does stir a lot of emotions within me, but I just, again, I feel that as an educator, knowing that kids are mean, kids are rough, they bully each other, they backstab each other, I think that I would have just been a lot more cautious if I was Absolutely. That teacher going into that conversation. And I think this is where I think for me it's maybe this teacher really should have taken a mental health day.
But that's important. But
a lot of people should have taken mental health days. I know that myself, the next day, Comadre Tere, we talked. I was crying. I was thinking about my mother who's undocumented, and getting updates from my sisters about how she was doing and how she was feeling. And I took the day off, right? And I ran into community friends who took the day off. And a lot of us, we're self-employed, or we work in creative environments where our schedules are flexible. But I think about these teachers or essential workers. I saw on TikTok a girl who went to work at a grocery store somewhere in the Midwest, and she was talking about going to work and everybody was celebrating. And she's the only person of color that works there. And she walks in, she goes straight to the locker room, doesn't even say hi to anyone because they're celebrating something that is going to impact her life and living in the Midwest as a colored woman. And so she's like, wow, these people hate me. They don't even need to tell me that they don't like me because I can just feel it. And I know it. And I know because of how they voted and what they're celebrating right now. And that is something that a lot of people went through in their own way. You know, going to work, having family members that voted that way, friends that voted that way. You know, some people, their children voted that way. You know, their spouses voted that way. And so, again, like, this conversation that we've been having, Alex, of like, where do we find common ground? Do we find common ground? Can we move forward with these people that voted differently than us? Like, where is this? There's so much. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I mean, there's a wrong answer. That's the thing. Like, there's a lot of wrong. There's a lot of, but like, black and white isn't the world we live in. And I think that's where, like, for me, like, I don't really know. I know that I've created boundaries. I've created space with a lot of folks, a lot of people. But yeah, I don't know. Like, there's just so much that goes into all of this.
Yeah. I think that is a big thing. The whole, it isn't just black and white. And sometimes it feels like it is, but there is so much more context. You know, you have, let's say, someone who, you know, lives with a parent who did vote for Trump. Like, that's where they live. They can't just, like, you know what I mean? They're gonna be, like, unhoused. Like, they don't want that. And so it is, like, a safety concern, a well-being concern. But at the same time, like, for me, this might be a hot take, but, like, for people that aren't direct family and even some family members that are extended family, I'm like, I really don't care anymore. Like, cause again, like, I really am so, I really want to emphasize, like, or for me, it's very important that, like, I feel like this really does speak to your morals. Like, I can just already know, like, I already know, I feel like, by who you voted for. If you voted for Trump, I'm like, you probably are misogynist. Like, you probably, or at least to some degree, or you have a friend or a Theo or someone who is, that you protect.
They identify with him in some kind of way. Maybe not the whole way, but maybe there's something in that they're like,
Exactly. And I think indifference is so dangerous, because that's how these genocides happen, is being indifferent. Like, oh, well, you know, I don't agree with them, but, like, that's whatever. That's my family, or that's my friend. Like,
right. That doesn't affect me.
And it's like indifference is dangerous. You know, when it comes to things like this, like, I think you can't just be indifferent to things.
I think last election, I had a lot of conversations with folks that voted differently than me. I had a lot of, and I will say, a lot of people in the transaction of, you know, that presidency, they changed their perspectives and whatnot, and the conversations got better. But this time around, I'm not having conversations with anyone. I'm having only conversations with people that think the same as me. And that's where I feel like, for me, I steer away from people that don't think the way I think. I feel like I'm not as inclined. I don't have the
it's exhausting.
The energy.
So tired
of
it.
And the thing is, again, it goes back to, like, this is different than the past, where it's like you could have a civil conversation. These people, like, they get aggressive, and they're like,
it's personal now.
Yeah, and they don't, and oftentimes I feel like there is no room for, like, it isn't a discussion. It's like them yelling at you and talking at you, and it's like, why would I even bother conversing with you?
But what has changed? Did they change, or did we grow up and come into a different threshold of, like, because are there, like, is the youth, because the youth is upset. The youth is, I see the youth having these fights and these conversations. So I'm thinking, from my perspective, did we just kind of grow up and come into a different perspective of what's going on?
I think, you know, I really think that it's genuinely just exhausting. Like, because I feel the same. When I was younger, I was so willing to, like, debate and argue with. Now I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, and it's also, you know, you hear stories. People get violent. You know what I mean? You're both. I'm women. Like, I'm a queer person. Like, I'm a non-binary person. Like, people get violent. You know, like,
it's very scary. You can't speak your mind or say something because you could be canceled, or you could be, you know, accused of something, or maybe taken out of context. Yeah, absolutely.
And then especially in these groups, you know what I mean? Like they're like extremists. You know, a lot of them are extremists.
And when they get together, it's like they feel more empowered and emboldened.
And the thing is that you don't know like what does a racist person look like? What does a misogynistic person look like? It's like, what does an autistic person look like? Yeah. You get me? Like, that's really like where we're at this point. And like, I think that's where like I'm coming from, like on a personal level, how I protect myself and how I take care of myself is just making sure that these conversations I'm having in safe environments. I'm seeking and like places to have these conversations, like forums, you know, like I know that the San Fernando Young Democrats are about to have a forum. I saw that on Instagram today. I know that, you know, there's spaces that are being created online, you know, if you're not able to go to a place physically, and there's a lot of fear even like going to a space, you know, to have these conversations. Because, you know, the opposite side can always come and protest the you know, the conversations, the pláticas, you know. So like, I think it's up to every individual to like take their measures and to make sure that they're taking care of their mental health and that they are taking care of their well-being. But I don't think people need to be shying away from these conversations. I think that, to me, that's the end of, like, that's my point. It's like, these are important conversations to be held. It happened in the way that it happened in this classroom. As a parent, I would not have handled it the way these parents handled it. I would have handled it by, this is an opportunity to create a discussion and dialogue with my children and to see, where do my children stand? Because you never know what they think, or, you know, even these parents, like, I think that's just what's so wrong with like the world and like just like being a parent. Like, it's just hard because we're so stuck in our own lives and in our own ways, but like we have to remember that our children are experiencing the world differently, and like they might not think the same way as us. And so, yeah, like, I wish parents would have used this as an opportunity to like connect with their kids and see where their political views are instead. And like, also like teaching their kids that people have these human responses. Like, this teacher is so like in shock of, like, again, this is coming from a historical context. Like, this is real, like, stamp history. So he didn't say anything that was like misinformation in my book. No. From what I understand. I think
he could have like expanded on some of those things.
Yeah. And he could have definitely been a little more, you know, I think the statement of like they want to be, if they voted for Trump, they want to be white. Like, the truth behind that, like, I think there's a whole conversation even within that statement to be had. And so like, there's just so much unpacking to do there that, again, as a parent, I would have taken that opportunity to unpack that with my soon to be adult child. Stepping into a world where these are conversations that are being held at the grocery store, at the bus stop, in your, you know, in your office. So again, like, I think going back to Comadre Tere, like, definitely agree with you. Like, these are like, I don't think we should be shielding our children. I don't shield my kids even in their elementary school grade, you know, and they're very aware and very smart and very capable of understanding. So as a sophomore in high school, saying that this is too much for them to handle, when we know very well the things that are on social media, on YouTube, we know very well the types of bullying that is being taken place, because we're hearing from that as well. So I think, yeah, there's so much truth behind like what everybody has said right now. And I think that just like going back to like the deportation and immigration, and I think that this is a time as a Chicana that, yeah, there's so much fear from me as a woman, but like not just for myself. Like, I'm scared for my undocumented community, my family, my parents, my friends' parents, I have friends who are undocumented.
Yeah.
I have friends who are, they are entrepreneurs trying to figure it out because they can't hold down a job because they've been waiting on a work visa for over a year and a half, and like their job let them go because, hey, I can't have you hired because it's illegal for me because you don't have your work visa, but I'm waiting for it. Like, I apply, like they have me on hold. Well, I'm sorry, that's none of my business. Like, people are gonna start using all of these things as an excuse to just let these undocumented folks go. And like, again, the fear around DACA, the fear around just like these programs and these resources being discontinued. Like, it's just unfair.
Yeah.
It's unfair. It's like...
And they don't get to have those conversations. That's another thing. Like, being able to just converse about it, or like in that classroom do these like and just hear without actually having to face the consequences. Like, that's a privilege, you know what I mean? And like, these people, like undocumented folks, all these other folks that are being affected, like, they have to just deal with the reality. So like, yeah, these kids can have a conversation and can like hear, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And I think this would have been a perfect opportunity for him to talk about why there is that real threat, not just because of it's happened in history, but because it's currently happening right now. And it's not just families and children and students, but one of the least commonly, I feel like I personally, it's not as commonly discussed, is that there are U.S. veterans being deported.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Like, right now, currently, there are veterans that have served in the military that have given their all
literally
to the country, their lives, their sanity, their mental health, their well-being. And they are just as much risk at being deported. So we're going to play a clip of a veteran that was interviewed, and he has been affected by this. This interview is by content creator Walter Masterson. If you don't know Walter Masterson, he is really great at trolling Trump supporters. He goes into situations where they're very heavily Trump supporters, very right-wing conservative Christians, and he'll just go and ask them questions like, yeah, Trump, what are tariffs? And they don't know how to answer. And it's just this hilarious, like, video that he creates. But so he actually interviewed a veteran that was deported. So we're going to hear about that.
Hey, guys. So that was a clip from, what was the name?
The content creator is Walter Masterson.
And you can find that clip on Instagram. Yeah. But yeah, thoughts, reactions.
That just seems evil.
Seems hard.
That seems evil that, like, you can...
You give your life for something that you believe in, like your everything, your family, your life, everything. And they give you this sort of like, oh, we'll pay for your college and we'll help you here and we'll do this for you and you have really good benefits. But the reality is, for some of these green card veterans, that they can't actually partake in any of these benefits. So they're being deported. Like, yeah. that is very, it seems very unfair. It seems like, to me personally, it feels like if you served your country and you're a veteran and you did,
that's gotta be like,
automatically you get a pathway to citizenship, which is what we've been wanting.
They've been promised.
We've been promised the pathway to it, and then now Trump is gonna like make it more like legal, like, but it's not really, like, he's not gonna make it any better. He's just gonna make the pathway to citizenship worse.
Well, that's like the Bracero program we were just talking about earlier. Like you had said, once they initiated the whole like Operation Wetback, whatever, like it was like you said, oh, there's too many of you, like. I think it's really like, oh, we don't need you anymore. Like,
right.
Yeah, we got what we needed from you. Now get out. Like, and that's like the same mentality. My grandfather was a bracero, and he was deported. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not that long ago. Like,
this is real life.
Is like very recent, So
And that's interesting to hear that your family was part of this.
I think he was deported twice.
What do you remember? Like, do you have any conversations with him?
No, he passed away before I was born. He actually passed away the year before I was born.
Oh,
but
okay.
just from family stories, yeah, he had came here. He was living in San Diego. He was a bracero. He was a pachuco too.
Wow, you got roots.
We need to see some pictures.
And it's actually kind of a crazy story. He became like pen pals with my grandma, like, and she was living in Tijuana at the time because she had left Los Mochis for a whole other crazy. I mean, I don't know if I want to get into it. It's a crazy story though. Actually, like, it's
go for it.
Go for it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so this is a story. That's how my Nina Tonya told me. Like, in Los Mochis, my Nana Eva she was the I think second or third child, and so her older sister, my tia Isa, this is like back in the 30s or 40s, was a singer, and back then it was also it was a smaller town, and that Pedro Infante had come into Los Mochis in the town, and like. My tia used to sing at like the bailes and stuff, and he saw her sing, and it was basically like, I don't know what there was back then. I want to sign you. I want you to like come and sing with me.
Work with me.
Yeah, exactly. Work with me. And this is back then, and so she was like excited, over the moon. She was probably like, I don't know, a teenager, maybe in her 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But her parents, my great grandparents, were like, no, you're a woman. Like, you have to, like, women don't do that. You have to work and like serve a family. And so my Nana Eva heard that, saw that, and was like, I'm out. She left and she moved to Tijuana on a train. She went to Tijuana, and then that's where she became pen pals with my grandpa, who was a bracero living in San Diego. And then, I don't know, they connected.
The rest is history.
The rest is history, yeah.
Here you are. Alex Infinity, still musically talented, inclined.
And then within the culture, too. Con la cultura. Like, your great-grandfather was a pachuco. And you're in the culture, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're still representing what it means to be true to your roots.
I really do this for real,
Yeah. I mean, it's your birthright. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is something that you've been born into. And I feel like a lot of us that are in community organizing and advocacy, like, we have a duty to ourselves and our community to improve, and it's our birthright. Like, we are here, and we are going to do this work, and we are going to talk to each other, and we're going to build community. And if you want to join, awesome. There'll be more people to help. But don't put us down.
Yeah.
That's it.
Don't put us down.
Put us on. Don't put us down.
Don't put us down.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's really sad and really unfortunate, and it's such a, like I said, I don't think it's commonly discussed. I think I may have heard that veterans are deported here and there, but it didn't, like, now that everything is changed, like, we see the world differently now, learning that people who have given their entire lives and everything that they believe in to something that is just like, thank you for your help, we appreciate it, but we don't need your help anymore.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna continue to follow what's going on post elections here on Las Comadres, as well as with Voces Unidas. We are on air every Monday and every third Sunday of the month. The Voces Unidas is on the even Mondays, and Las Comadres is on the odd Mondays. So that's a good way to kind of remember when we'll be on. Today's Monday, yo. But yeah, we are here in San Fernando, in Pueblo y Salud. The KROJ studios. If you guys are tuned in on the radio, we are on 101.5 FM. You guys can also listen to us on the KROJ app, which is available on Apple. And we also have a streaming website that you guys can find on Pueblo y Salud's website. So there's so many ways you guys can tap in with us. But, we still have about, 20-ish minutes, and I kind of wanted to talk with Alex Infinity. Mm-hmm. Alex Infinity was like, you can call me Alex, and we're over here. Like,
you can call me whatever you want.
We're not doing that.
But Comadre Alex Infinity has been curating, some little segments for us for our breaks. And these segments include anywhere from like things that are going on in the community, like things that you can participate in. And they also include local artists, local music. You know, Alex, you do a lot in the community. We've talked to you like with Valley Views. We've talked to you with Voces. But this is kind of like the first time you're like on Las Comadres. This is a different experience here in KROJ. I know you've been here before. But, you know, you do a lot in the community. You do a lot. And we've heard a lot about your organizing work. We've heard a little bit about your music. But, you know, what is it that drives you to, like, be so involved in community? Because it takes a certain amount of, like grit, right? To stay in the face of community. And you've done that for quite a while. You've been active, you know, with Tia Chuchas, Corn Beautiful, you know, with us, Voces Unidas, with Valley Views. Like, we see you everywhere, you know, performing, doing art of all kinds. So what is it for you? Like, what drives that, like, community flame?
You know, I think it's really something just like ingrained in me. I don't know. I think ever since I was a kid, like literally since I was a child, you know, I used to even tell my mom, like, and maybe I didn't have that exact language for her, but I knew that, like, I'm here to serve. Like, I'm here to do something bigger. I want, like, my life, I want to do something with my life. I want to impact the world in a certain way. And, you know, growing up, that very much felt like, well, how the hell am I going to do that, you know? And when I found, like, community work, which was actually in 2018 through Tia Chucha, through Young Warriors specifically, which no longer operates there. But, you know, it felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, this is everything that I dreamed of. You know, my grandmother growing up, she used to be involved in, she used to be part of this women's circle. And sometimes when I was a kid, she would take me with her, and they would have, like, drum circles, and they would, you know, chop it up. Kind of like this, like Las Comadres, you know? And so I would be there, and I was always surrounded by it. And then I went my whole life. I went to Catholic school my whole life. So I went, like, a whole full circle. When I found Tia Chuchas, I was like, oh, my God, this is, like, reminds me of that. Like, even, like, memories that I don't even fully remember, but just that feeling that I had as a kid, this safety and this, like, no, this is, like, where I'm supposed to be. And like I said, I always had this fire. I always had this, like, I'm also an Aries. I don't know, like, I'm, like, really passionate about things, you know? When I find something I love or I feel called to, like, I'm, like, I don't want to do anything else. Like, I'm, like, obsessive, you know? Whether that's music or, like, community work, serving, or whatever other ideas I have. And so when I found Young Warriors in 2018, you know, it was just immediately, like, the first meeting I went to was a healing circle. They were in a circle just talking. It was young people, like, my age, and at the time, I was the youngest one, actually. They were all, like, you know, early 20s, late teens, just pouring their hearts out for each other and holding space for each other. And I was like, this is, like, I've never experienced anything like this in this way. And so immediately I got involved, and I started to, like, volunteer as much as I could. I was going to CSUN at the time. And so I had a lot of free time outside of class. So I was doing that all the time. I was still working on music, too, and stuff. And, yeah, I was volunteering. And then, like, a year later, or, like, 7-8 months later, that I had this idea, because I used to throw open mics at my friend's dorm room at CSUN. And I was like, Tia Chuchas doesn't have, like, a open mic specifically for young people. And so I had pitched the idea to Mike Centeno and I think Melissa, who are the CEO, CFO, whatever position they are, like the heads of the org. And they, you know, they pretty much let me do it. I was obviously a lot more figuring out the specifics and stuff, but they let me do it. And so I started running the Young Warriors open mics all of 2019. The first one was in February, every month, once a month. And it was just this beautiful thing. You know, we'd have kids, young people from all over coming and, like, doing music, doing poems, even doing, like, dancing. And for me, I've always been intentional. I think because my parents are, like, they used to throw parties. They used to throw, what do you call them? The posadas, huge posadas, dude. We used to have these huge, and they're great hosts. They always, you know, you come and you feel welcome. They know how to, like, engage people, and so I always, like.
So you're inviting us to posada?
I hope we haven't done it. We haven't done it in a few years because I'm telling you, it used to get big, dude. We used to have, like, 300 people in the house. Like, I think we got robbed one time. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
That's wild.
And so I always had this, like, I want to create space. I've always had this, like, I want people to feel good. I want people to feel safe. I want people to feel like they can be themselves. And so that was very much, like, has always been my intention with, like, any of the organizing that I've done. So with the Young Warriors Open Mics, it would be like, I'm making sure when you come in, like, yo, come on in, you know, if you feel good, like, can I get you anything? Almost like, it's like service, you know, almost like a waiter or something, you know, but, like, I'm doing this out of love. I wasn't getting paid or anything. And then we do, like, I'll take a little break, and I put drums, because the just had all these drums, whether it was tambourines or whatever. I put one on each table, and I'm like, okay, when you hear the drums, that means come back in. And so you start hearing some drums, and everyone comes to their seats, and they find a drum there. I'm like, everyone join in. And so it's like the whole room is shaking like a maraca or a tambourine or something. And it's just creating this, like, energy flow. And then
the ambiance.
Yeah, and it was such a beautiful thing. And then, you know, in kind of going to what you were saying, like, how do you keep that fire? I did get burnt out. Honestly, I did experience burnout. Because I was doing that. I was also a full-time student. I was also, you know, like a full-time musician working on this album, performing like every week. I was also in this relationship that was very demanding. It was just so many things. And then both my grandmothers passed away within like 2 months of each other.
Ooh,
and so it was like a crazy time, and that kind of I did experience that burnout. I needed to take a break. And then COVID happened, which kind of also just made it like you know, it was difficult. But I started working there, actually. I started working on like with the Achuchas Young Warriors, but like a offsite program that was it was like doing these writing workshops for kids at Casa Esperanza right there in Panorama.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so me and Maggie was my co-lead. We would do those. It was really cool. It was really beautiful, you know. And like we would do these workshops. These kids from the area would come in, and we'd like have them have prompts and like facilitate these workshops for them to write. And you really got to see, like, as the weeks went on, like, them start to feel more comfortable sharing. And then it became on Zoom, which was obviously made it harder too, but, you know, feel more comfortable sharing and, like, writing more. You know, at first they're just like, I don't want to, like, what do you mean I got to write that? And then as you get more comfortable and kind of embody this, like, no, this is, like, actually really cool and good for you, and, like, you can learn about yourself, and, like, sharing, being vulnerable is actually, like, really fun when you're in a safe space, you know?
Yeah.
And you get to just witness that. And then just, I don't know.
That just fills your cup. Like, the experiences like those just keep filling your cup, where it makes you feel like you are doing a good thing.
Yeah. And
I think it's interesting. Like, I think throughout everything that you just shared right now, like, the constant is that you've kind of created spaces for youth to express themselves throughout your career.
Well, can I? Yeah, you finish. Go ahead.
No, I mean, just like it feels like that's kind of where, like, you're, for me, like, I'm a pattern person. Like, that's kind of my but like
it's a weird way of saying you have OCD.
I'm autistic, bro. But
that's cool.
The you know, I pick up, like, little patterns. And for me, like, right now, like, as you were talking, I'm like, dang, like, he really cares about kids. Like, he really cares about youth. And, like, you know, just, like, the way that you just said everything that you've done, like, and why you stayed connected, and why that fire has stayed lit. Like, behind everything, there's just, like, youth is there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think, it's just like service to the world. But I think I connect so much specifically with youth because just my childhood, you know, I grew up, I was bullied as a kid, like, very severely in my household. Like, I was actually not just bullied, I was, like, abused as a kid. Like, trigger warning, sorry everyone. I was very much, like, abused, like, on a daily basis or, like, weekly basis by my older sibling, who was, like, 4 years older than me. And when you're a kid, that's 4 years a big gap, you know. I'm like 8 years old and you're already 12, you know. I'm 10 and you're 14. And so a lot of, like, when I reminisce on my childhood, like, there was good times, there's good memories, and even recently I was like, you know what, like, let me try to focus on the good ones. But it was a lot of darkness, you know. I really even, like, don't remember a whole lot of stuff prior to, like, the age of 13. And I'm like, that's because of trauma, because I blocked a lot of things out. And so as a kid, you know, I was, like, really depressed and really, again, trigger warning, I don't know if I can say this on the air, but on the brink of
just not wanting to be here.
Unaliving or whatever. And, you know, it was it was a combination of things. I think first of all, like, I just always had this, like, deep hope inside of me of like, you know, no matter how dark it gets, like, there's always like some sort of hope. Maybe it's because of the TV shows I was watching, or because of, you know, a lot, also because of the music I was listening to. Like artists that I listened to were like talking about some things or feelings that I was experiencing. And it was like this is like someone gets me, someone sees me, someone hears me, like, you know. And so I think about everything I do now and have done for the last, you know, 10 years is just 10 years, but, you know, is like, that's for my inner child, you know. That's for all the little Alexes out there, all the little kids, the young people, or even like teenagers or whatever that are also feel that way, that feel like, you know, maybe they don't see a purpose in living, or they don't see hope. And it's like, nah, like, it's not easy. I'm not gonna say it's like all easy and stuff, but like there is always hope, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that just, I don't know, just trying to be an example of that, and being able to like create spaces where people can express that and like experience that catharsis, and know that like you can feel that stuff and you can still have value. Your life is valuable, and you are loved, and you're safe to do that, you know. And I don't know. I just wanna help people. I just wanna make the world a better place, you know.
And
like,
that's why I think it was so important, I think, for me to have you today and during this topic of conversation, because you are really connected with the community. You do. You're younger, you know, you have more on, like, your ears more on the ground of what's happening with the youth and the community activities and everything that's happening because of just the nature of your work. So I really appreciate you coming in today to give us that perspective of a community member, somebody who is a young activist and is working with youth and has experiences that are really relevant to the things that are happening today in the world, or, you know, or here just in the United States.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking that question. One thing, like, you know, I think about when I was in that dark place as a kid, and there's been different little dark times, of course, but that darkest one when I was like a child, and I remember in my head, like, even when it was at the darkest, I had these visions of like, when I'm older, like, I'm gonna be this person that, like, I had a vision, you know, like, I want to be someone who believes in themselves and is confident and like is like stands up for people and does like and is cool. And I remember I've had a couple experiences where I'm like, I have to look and I'm like, even when times get dark, I'm like, nah, I'm living my inner child's dream. Like, I'm here and I'm like, I'm that person, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And if my little inner me could see myself, hurt themselves now, like, they would be so happy and so proud.
You ever heard of the little person? The little person? And my therapist taught me this. So she said, imagine there's a little person living inside of you, like a little Maria, baby Maria. Like, how would you treat that person?
Yeah.
Like, how would you protect it? And it seems like you are really leaning into that little person, that little Alex that suffered and went through so many hardships, and now you're protecting that little person and you're living all of the things that little person couldn't express at that moment. So I really enjoy hearing that you are taking care of that little person within you, because that is the source of your creativity. And it sounds like you've always known who you were deep inside, despite those like dark moments.
I'm also like a very like introspective person. I know, because I was like very much. I spent a lot of time alone as a kid. My parents worked so much. You know, my parents are divorced as well. Like, I spent a lot of time alone, like literally just alone with my thoughts. You know, and so I don't know. I guess I developed like a sense of self at a young age.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything that you shared is just so relatable, like on so many levels. You know, like, I agree. Like, I feel the same when it comes to like my inner child and myself. Like, I can't even, as a kid, I couldn't even dream of like having a show with my best friend and being on air. And, you know, like, I also had this like same understanding. I think it was an understanding of like, I'm here to help people experience life better. And like, whatever that means. And like, because at the time I was just an older sister, you know, like, that was my role. And, you know, I had to be a big sister, and I had to like create a nice environment for my siblings. And there was so much that went into that. But like, now holding myself, it's the priority, but it is like what it is the focal point of like where my work comes from. You know, like all this community work that we do, and it's all because there is a little Alex out there, a little Diosy, a little Maria, you know, that needs to have an outlet when they grow up. And so like we're creating that space for them. And you know, I think that that's like the whole point of what Las Comadres is all about, is like creating this dialogue. And yeah, like just thank you so much. You know, we're coming up to the last, you know, couple of minutes. We have about 6 minutes left.
I wish we could talk about this for another hour.
I know.
We're gonna have to have
Comadre
Alex come back with another.
Well,
anytime.
Comadre Alex already told us that there'll be a special co-host whenever we need.
Yeah.
So we are excited to have Comadre Alex, you know, join us again at any other time, you know, whenever you want, really. Just like let us know.
Okay.
You can we'll share the schedule with you. But yeah, it's been a lovely conversation. We do want to just like let you plug yourself in, talk a little bit about, you know,
where can we find you,
these segments,
where can we hear,
and let people know where they can tap into this awesome playlist that you created for us.
So first of all, again, like my name is Alex. I go Alex Infinity. I am a musician. I make music. You can find me on all platforms. Alex Infinity. My Instagram is VLXU. And I just released an album earlier this year. And sneak preview, I did post a note about it. But like for those listening, for y'all, I just finished my upcoming one, the ones that will make it. I'm super excited for that. I think this is like the best thing I've ever made.
Nice. I can't wait.
I'm so excited.
So I don't have anything. I don't want to share too much yet. Still, like I got to figure out all the rollout and all that. But
All right.
it's, you know, this exists. It exists in some way.
Well, please tell us when you have something ready, because we would love to.
I'm gonna come here first.
Yes.
I'm gonna come here.
Please.
Y'all are gonna get the exclusive.
Okay, so we're releasing their new
release party.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Release
that's
party?
in the works already.
Okay.
Okay.
We're
And then
invited.
Lastly, I did, like I said earlier, I forgot to say it, but I did make that 2-hour playlist of only local artists. And if there are any local artists I missed out there, like hit us up. Or if you want to get that playlist and just support local artists, hit up Las Comadres _ BU on IG, or me at BLXU. Yeah, I'll send it to you too.
Hey, all
But make sure you follow Las Comadres. Go follow them if you're not. I don't know how you wouldn't be, but
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. We love you so much.
I love y'all too.
You guys can find us, like Alex just said, on Instagram at Las Comadres _ VU. The VU stands for Voces Unidas. And you can find Voces Unidas also on Instagram at Voces Unidas en Pacoima. N is E-N. It's in Spanish. Voces Unidas en Pacoima.
Did you say E-N or I-N?
E-N. Voces Unidas en Pacoima.
Okay. I had a moment there. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Come on, co-founder.
Thank you, spell check.
But, comadre, when is our next show?
Our next show is going to be on Monday, believe it or not, December 2nd. We are heading right into the holiday season, but we will be back Monday, December 2nd, 7 to 9 p.m. on KROJ 101.5 FM. But next week, you can find Voces Unidas. And let me get the Monday, November 25th. It'll be Voces Unidas with your co-hosts, Diosy, Melissa, and Theodora. And there's always a good time with the gals at Voces Unidas radio show. So, that will be happening. And we really appreciate everyone tuning in. And again, appreciate Alex Infinity for joining us.
I appreciate
We
y'all.
definitely will be calling you for another co-hosting gig.
Yes,
Cool.
yes, we will. And right before we wrap up, we just want to we want to really thank our sponsors, Superior Carco, Prime One Design, and Maria's Tamales. We're super grateful for your guys' support. You guys support us in so many ways, not only financially. So, love you guys, and sending you guys lots of hugs and whatnot. But This is us signing off. Las Comadres, Comadre Diosy.
Comadre Maria.
Comadre Alex Infinity.
Hey! I like the sound of that.
I like it too.
You guys were tuned in on KROJ 101.5 FM. Here, live from the studios in Pueblo Salud, in the city of San Fernando. Our show is produced by Voces Unidas in Pacoima and Valley Views SFE Media. And that's a wrap. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Good night, y'all.